Hello everyone and welcome back once again to my channel. I'm back once again with a full flight video in the Aerosoft CRJ 700. Today we will be flying with AeroMexico Connect from Mexico City to Toncontin International Airport in Honduras. I've chosen this destination in particular because you guys seem to really enjoy videos about some of the more interesting airports that require a little bit more effort to land at. The video where I landed at London City Airport got over 1,200 views, and that number is still increasing every week, so I thought it would be a fun idea to cover another interesting airport in one of my videos, and that is the airport of Toncontin, which has a very scenic and challenging approach that requires pilots to make a last-minute turn towards the runway. That, combined with a very short length of the runway and the surrounding terrain, makes this approach both very fun and nerve-wracking at the same time. So this should definitely be an interesting one. This flight isn't done in real life, and AeroMexico also doesn't fly CRJs around, but I do think this livery looks very good on this aircraft. And this flight doesn't really seem unrealistic, so that's why we are going with that. Very quickly before we start, be sure to do a touch and go on that subscribe button along with the bell icon so you never miss out on any new uploads, of course. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and head on over to the comment section if you have any questions or requests you would like to share. They are more than welcome. Just like the previous full flight videos, this one will be split up into two pieces, so if you want to see me absolutely destroy the landing gear during the landing at Toncontin, be sure to check out the second video as well after this one. Now, without further ado, let's start preparing for our flight. So as you can see on our screen, the weather here at Mexico International Airport isn't really that great. We are surrounded by a couple of very dark clouds, and there's also a bit of lightning and thunder going on. But that shouldn't be a problem during our departure. So let's go ahead and jump into the flight deck. Just like with all of the previous flights, I've already started preparing the aircraft for our departure. So I've programmed in the coordinates for our airport so the IRS could start aligning already, and I've just done the basic preparations and the all of the before, or how should I say it, I've the originating checklist and all of that stuff. One thing I forgot was the trim, so let me just do that. But yeah, on the overhead panel everything has already been done, so we can jump straight to the FMC and start programming our flight plan. So for that we need to go to the flight plan page. The ICAO code for Mexico International Airport is Mike X-ray, and we are going to Mike Hotel Tango Golf, which is Toncontin Airport. There we go. Our flight number today is 5 Delta 1106. So that's just a the second part is just a flight number I came up with myself. It's not an actual flight in real life. There we go. We have a ground distance of 753 nautical miles, which is not too bad for a flight. Then to the departing page, we are going to fly from runways 23 left on the PBC for Delta departure, like so. Execute that. Onto the flight plan page, and next page, from PBC we will fly via the Uniform Juliet 47 airway, and we are taking that to the IZT VOR, or I presume it's a VOR at least. Then continuing on the A754 airway to Viten, which is the last waypoint of our route, and from there we are going to fly the arrival into Toncontin International Airport, which will be the Vitan 1 arrival, sorry. This one right here, and we are taking that to the RMP for runway 02 from the south, so that should probably be the RNAV. for runway 02, which is this one. And our transition will probably be the Toncontin VOR, which is TNT. And that should be good. So if we execute that and go to the legs page, we'll make sure that there are no discontinuities in our flight plan. There's one right there. We fixed that. And now we'll check if the flight plan is in fact programmed incorrectly. So we can do that by switching to plan mode and going to the MFD ADV button or page, sorry, on the FMC. And then you can just step through your flight plan like so. And if we zoom in here a little bit, so that's almost what the flight plan is supposed to look like. It appears there's one missing waypoint, but that doesn't seem to be much of a problem. We can fix that in the air if we have to, or we can just add that waypoint ourselves. I prefer just leaving all of this alone, but it does seem like a pretty important waypoint, so let's try this for a second. Okay, no, that completely messed everything up, I think. So yeah, we're just gonna leave that for now, but that shouldn't cause any problems during our flight. Yeah, there we go, that's the flight plan for today. Now we can go to the perf page. Now since the Mexico International Airport is quite high up in terms of terrain, we are not really going to use a high flex temperature. I think 40 should be good enough. And our cruising altitude, according to SimBrief, is flight level 370, which is 37,000 feet. There we go. And if we take a look at the charts for our transition altitude is 18,500 feet. If we go to VNavSet, we can put that in there, execute that. There we go. That's everything for the FMS for now. So yeah, I have no idea why the V speeds aren't showing up on this performance tab here, but yeah, that's kind of weird if I'm being honest. I've never had that before. Yeah, not really that big of a deal, I hope. So yeah, now we can take a look at the weather at this airport. Like I said, it's not really a sunny day today at Mexico City. So according to the Meta reports, winds are 290 at 5 knots, scattered clouds at 8,000, overcast at 200 or 220,000. I don't really know what that is. Temperature is 15 with a dew point of 12 and the altimeter is 3039. So we'll set that here. Oh, no, that's a nav source. Don't want to touch that, of course. It's the button below that, like so. And we'll do the same for the first officer side. And then lastly for the standby altimeter as well. There we go, that's set. And other than that, no real significant weather changes. So, except for the storms that are surrounding the airport and that lighting over there. But yeah, other than that, everything is good. That's all for the weather. The weather at Toncontin is a little bit better, I think. Wind seems to be calm with quite a nice temperature, a normal altimeter, and no significant weather as well. So that should be nice. Now, before we can push back and head over to the runway for departure, we still need to do the departure briefing. So I'll drag over the charts here. This is the departure that we are going to fly, the Puebla 4 Delta departure. From runway 23 left, we are going to depart on a runway heading of 230 degrees to a distance of 4.0 nautical miles from the Mexico VOR. Then a left turn towards 059 degrees, and in this turn also we can't exceed 180 knots. Then to this waypoint right here, where we need to be below flight level 230. Then at this waypoint we'll make a right turn to 140 degrees to the Puebla VOR, and from there we'll continue on our flight plan. So our initial altitude is flight level 230 as per the chart, and like I said, transition altitude is 18,500 feet. And here we have the airport elevation, which is 7,297 feet, which is quite high. So the acceleration during departure will not be as fast as usual, and we'll also have to mind the angle of departure during the takeoff, so we don't stall the aircraft. So yeah, that's everything we need to know for the departure. As for the taxi procedure, we are going to taxi via Bravo to the holding point of runway 23 left at either Delta 1 or just Delta. So yeah, that's everything we need to know for the taxi. Nice and easy. We'll just push back onto taxiway Bravo and then continue ahead to the runway. So guys, now that we've done that, we can start setting up the MCP, and then we'll also start the APU now. So let's do that first, so that can do its thing as well. APU should now be starting up. Initial altitude was flight level 230, so I'll set that in the altitude selector. And our initial heading was 235, if I'm not mistaken. Like so. Flight directors are on and everything else is set for now. So at this point, the V-speed still haven't showed up for some reason. I really don't know why that is. Yeah, we can also start closing up the doors of the aircraft now.
Captain, the cabin is secure.
And we can also disconnect the APU.
On behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us.
There we go, the sound should now be a little bit better for you guys. I think it was a little bit quiet before. Yeah, the chocks can also be removed now because the parking brake is set and all of that. So yeah, let's start doing some checklists now. It seems like a good time to do that. So before start checklist, passenger signs are on, landing elevation is set. The elevation at Toncontin is 3,300 feet approximately. Altimeters are 3039 on both sides and on the standby altimeter, and it is displaying an altitude of 7,300 feet, which is almost perfectly the elevation at this airport. FMS has been checked, IRSs are aligned, radios and nav aids, I'm not gonna use those today, and takeoff briefing is complete. So far the before start checklist, we can move on to the clear to start checklist as well. Personal electronic diff, I presume that's the ground power unit, so that's off. APU is on. Electrics are checked. APU is providing power to the systems. Takeoff data, well, we haven't been able to set the EV speeds, but other than that everything is set. Doors are closed and locked. Beacon is on. Fuel pumps are on. And we have the right amount of fuel on board. Hydraulic pumps are on and auto. And parking brake, we'll leave that on until the pushback truck is here, so we'll call that one as well. So there we go, the pushback has started. I was just trying to mess with the V speeds a little bit, so I've just set a V speed of V1 of 132 knots, and we'll set the rotate speed as well in just a moment. So right now I need to focus on the pushback first, so we need to push back to the right, it seems. Or no, to the left, sorry. We'll start turning the aircraft now. And at this point, while the aircraft is turning, we can also start starting up the engines. So there we go. As you can see, I've set a couple of V speeds that should be approximately correct. Not exactly, because I don't know the exact V speeds, but they should be safe enough. So let's just go with that. And our initial speed will be V2 plus 15 approximately, so 154 knots should be alright. Sorry, 55 I mean. Like so. And as you can see, we have one good engine, so we can start the second one now as well. And there we go, two good engines. We'll start preparing the aircraft for our departure now. And in a moment we'll do the before taxi checklist and after start checklist as well. So there we go, after start checklist. Generators are on auto, electrics are checked, bleed valves are on auto, packs on, APU is off, anti-ice as required, nose wheel steering is armed. Moving on to the taxi checklists. Slats and flaps are 8 and indicating. Flight controls are checked. Trims, according to the EFB, we need a trim of 7.0. So we'll take 6.9 approximately. Thrust reversers are armed. Flight instruments are checked, and brake temperature is in the green as well. So there we go. Taxi light on, parking brake released.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff.
There we go. Flight attendants have told everyone to sit down in their seats and advised them that we are taking off. We'll stop here for a moment, be in front of the hold short line. And last thing we need to do before we can take off is turn on the nose light and set the X-flow to manual. Everything else has already been set and is still the way it should be. So, lastly, the before takeoff checklist. Lights and strobes are on. Fuel X-flow manual. Flight attendants has been advised. Transponder and TCAS is set. I actually still don't know how to use the TCAS in this aircraft, so I really should try and figure that out sometime. Radar and terrain display. This aircraft still doesn't have working terrain, so we'll just leave that. And CAS is checked. For takeoff checklist complete. We'll make sure that nobody's trying to take off or land at the same runway. It seems there isn't. Can start the timer now. And we'll stop here for a couple of seconds and let the engines rev up to 70% N1. go, brakes released, and toga. Takeoff thrust is set. Airspeed's alive. Knots almost. V1 will rotate. And we're up, positive rate, gear up. Go ahead and engage speed mode already. Start trimming the aircraft out. And autopilot can go on as well. And nav mode can go on. And we can set the speed to 200 knots now. There we go. There's 1000 feet, which is our acceleration altitude. Speed can now go to 250 knots, and we can almost select the final launch of flaps, like so. And as you can see, the climb at this airport is quite slow because of the high terrain and the low density of the air. Nose light and taxi light can also go off now, as well as the X-flow, and the thrust reversers. Aircraft is now making its turn towards the next waypoint. And now for some reason the V-speeds did appear. So as you can see, V rotates, I set 135 knots and actually it was 133 knots, so quite close. And V2 I set 140 knots, so that was also quite close. So yeah, there's 10,000 feet. Landing lights can go off and the speed can now go to our climb speed already, which is 280 knots. At this point we can also do the climb checklist, so fuel and X-flow is on auto, bleeds and APU are set, thrust reversers are off and gas is checked. Climb checklist completed. And now we just climb away to our cruising altitude. Oh, also one thing, we can assume that ATC has cleared us to a higher altitude and select our cruising altitude, which was so if at flight level 370. We've passed 18,500 feet already. That means the altimeters can go to the standard setting, and as you can see, we've passed through all of the clouds that were surrounding the airport. And we can still see some lightning down there, but that shouldn't be a problem for us anymore. So yeah, the passengers, I think it seems like a good time for them to get up from their seats to stretch their legs a bit. We did get an ice warning during our moment through the clouds, but I don't think that's much of a problem. I'll just turn on the wing anti-ice for a couple of minutes. So yeah guys, I'm probably going to cut the video right here, so be sure to check out the next video as well. I'm sure that will be a very interesting one with our landing in at Toncontin Airport. I've never done this in this sim or this aircraft, so that should be quite interesting. But yeah, for now I'll see you guys in the next one.